So Scorched Earth is a post-apocalyptic thriller that's set in a world after a massive global conflict's completely collapsed all society, and it's basically just descended into a complete dog-eat-dog universe.
So basically, during wartime, a pathogen was developed that was waterborne, and any consumer of the water basically had this metamorphosis into a rabid death machine, obsessed and hell-bent on killing other people for the purpose of warfare. As a result, however, the war has long been gone, it's over, everything's fine, except for the fact that the pathogen is still around and contaminating water supplies, so water is a very precious commodity.
You have the threat of the infected, all the water is poisoned. It's really all about, that 3-day limit. We really try and drive that home with it. The 3 days until you either die of dehydration or something kills you.
So the story is designed to be a television series where you get to have a nice amount of patience to slowly tell the story and really just explore all of the characters and the universe properly. So what we've done is we've created a 10-minute scene sequence from the pilot that just kind of shows the way that the characters interact in the universe, just to kind of get people going. We did it as a student film, which means that it was on pretty much no budget, and almost everything was done with just a crew of 4 people that just shared all of the roles throughout the production.
Well, since a few years ago, indie filmmaking has had an absolute godsend in the form of digital SLRs. However, they have their inherent drawbacks, namely the jelly sensor, you get the wobble from the CMOS sensor, and the compression artifacts. However, recently, a group called Magic Lantern, they're a hacking team for the Canon DSLR series, have developed a hack that basically outputs the pure input from the sensor, which is what you'd see on a live view image, and they basically made movies from that, making it a raw image, basically 25 raw still frames a second.
Alright, so this is how the big scene sequence is going to go. So we'll have a nice squared off a shot of the boards with the light streaking through. Connor standing right in the middle there when the streak of light cuts across.
So I really love long takes, preferably an entire scene within a single take, as much as possible, and then only cut where absolutely necessary.
And then swings back down to a bleeding Connor.
So we knew very early on that we were going to need a camera stabilization, such as a glide cam, in order to pull it off. The other good thing about the way that technology is moving right now is that the GoPros are producing brilliant quality, especially the Hero 3, capable of shooting in RAW and 4K, which is amazing when it's fitting inside the palm of your hand. So a lot of shots were conceived just that a normal camera DSLR just wouldn't be able to do. So there are a fair few GoPro shots throughout the film as well. The best thing about the city, Adelaide, that we're filming in is that it just has an abundance of amazing locations all around. You've got a beautiful coastline, and then just on the other end of the city is a massive rolling hills landscape. Inside that area is a conservation park called Morialta. And so very early on we started scouting that area, just places just off of the road where we could shoot. But it turns out that we actually got the full cooperation of Morialta fairly early on, and we were actually completely able to use the entire park as a location. So we went for hikes up into the Morialta.
So myself and David did quite a lot of the scouting. I remember when we were trying to find the perfect road camp. We had been driving around Morialta for quite a while now, up one of the tracks, and we'd sort of settled in one place. Like, we'd become content with it at this stage. We'd looked around, the car was on its way out. It refused to start for a while. We'd set up hammocks. We were just lying around, we're just like, it's just, we don't know. We're gonna have to just use this place. We're gonna have to find a way. There were trees everywhere. Gonna have to find a way to drive the full drive into there and use that as the road camp. But then we persevered, went around one more corner, and there it was, just a beautiful open green field. And we were just like, yes, this is perfect for the road camp.
We were really excited about casting for this film. However, we were quite nervous at the same time because it's a student production. We're not necessarily going to be getting the best of the best as far as people rocking up to audition. But very early on, we were actually quite overwhelmed with the huge response that the script got, and we actually had to hold 2 different days of auditions.
So basically about a day after we put the casting call out, I was at David's house and he basically said, so hey, we've got our rogue. What? So he showed me his laptop where Stinger T had sent us this audition video, and we immediately decided then and there, well, you know, we've got our rogue, that's perfect.
We were safe. It was special.
The biggest challenge was finding the perfect Rachel.
We had Sam, myself, and David over at a table, and we basically, a little intimidating, we basically had them sit in front of us while we're raised at this massive conference table, looking down on them saying, what can you do for us?
During the actual casting, we just sort of went, okay, so here's an imaginary tree, hide behind it from something terrifying.
A few days before we were holding the auditions, the very last girl to, request to come in, and then she was also the very first girl to come in for the day, was Ashley Coleman. It was a little bit hard doing auditions for the rest of the day when we knew full well that we'd already found our Rachel. First girl that came in, done.
We just had Ashley from the get-go. You know, she was number one and she stayed it.
A collection of super geeks trying to be handymen was interesting. We actually had to be completely saved by some random guy in Bunnings that basically, we were just staring at wood and we had no idea what to get. And then he just came up and said, hey guys, what are you trying to do? And we explained the whole film and everything, and he basically just went, got it. Went away, chopped up wood, basically just gave us like an IKEA furniture style package, like, okay, just glue this to this and you've got your boards.
As you can see right now, we have boards just laying down on the ground. These boards are going to be assembled and used to barricade up these windows. So what we're looking for is these boards, once we put together, they'll have small amounts of cracks in them. So they'll go up against this window, and then there'll be a red head right outside shining directly in, and we'll have a smoke machine in here just to kind of capture the streaks.
Yeah, I believe it was the Wednesday before we started shooting, all of 2 days before we started. And basically we just went up and down Rundle Mall trying to find the cheapest clothes possible that fit the bill.
So the problem with the costumes was that they were brand new when we bought them. And we had to make them look like they'd been through hell and back within 24 hours. We pretty much gathered all the dirt and just, like in the surrounding area where we were at my house, just all the dirt on the road, stabbed them with screwdrivers, beat them with hammers, dragged them along the road, pretty much everything we could just to beat the hell out of these clothes and just make them really awful, and then hung them out to dry, blew them dry, and yeah, actually turned out very well for how we did it.
Then the other significant props was basically putting together the entire road camp, to which we just went over to friends and family and just raided their sheds for whatever stuff we could find that could use it. And a lot of it was very useful, and then some of it.
So I arrive at Sam's house on the day of the shoot. Everything's buzzing, everyone's getting ready, everyone's excited. There's magic in the air. And I get out of my car and there's a massive red boat on the ground. A canoe, a kayak, I don't know, but it's just there. Dear God, it's a space quake.